Okay, so as Peter said, he's kindly asked me to come along and try and give an interpretation of PPC. What we're trying to do is to get you to think about it in slightly different ways. Some of you may be following these strategies, but it's kind of playing around with the frameworks for this and trying to simplify the process. But I'll just get into it quickly first to get you to understand where I'm from. I don't sell software or services or work for any companies. Like you guys, I'm an Amazon seller. A bit of a test crash dummy, if you like. We go and report from the edge and pull in the data and then pass it back to the audience. So just a little bit about me is that I started out, I was very lucky when I was a lot younger and I had hair and stuff like that. I was in the music industry when you could actually make some money out of it. And we used to do things like manufacturing vinyl and CDs and selling to stores. So it's kind of my Amazon story where I've got to now is kind of all the dots started to join together. So I spent 17 years in the music industry. I had a show on Kiss FM. I used to sit in the studio all day, and I was lucky to fly all around the world and DJ and stay in lovely hotels. And then obviously the online come along and killed everything off in the music industry, downsized by a factor of 10. In 2008, I started to get into online space. Obviously around that time it was MySpace and Friendster and things like that. So we raised some cash and run a startup for a couple of years. It was like a baptism of fire, as you can imagine. I mean, the conversation with the investor was, why don't we set a music community up? And I said, what the hell do I know about the online space? And he said, don't worry, you'll learn. So we kind of rushed into it, if you like, and we had to do a heavy amount of learning. So sometimes learning very difficult things when you haven't been doing it before can actually accelerate your learning if you have a process. And so we've done that, and along the way I picked up the PPC and the conversion optimization. I wouldn't say skills like your passion. You know, I don't like the word expert because I think there's you have to get a long way to go there, but let's just say that I like to specialize in those things and I like to run a lot of tests. So that was one of the core factors that attracted me to Amazon FBA. I've only been doing Amazon since March of last year, me and my business partner. So we could extrapolate the skill sets of what we've already done in commerce, and through I've done work with concert ticketing and stuff as well. So we could bring that over into the Amazon marketplace and the framework there. And so one of the reasons why I'm here, obviously I'm up here speaking in front of all you people and being very terrified. We're here on a sourcing mission, so we're growing our business. So we're here for the Global Sources Show, and we're here for phase 1 of Canton and phase 2. So the goal is we're planning now for Q4. So we want to make sure we've expanded on our SKUs and we're shipping out as of August. So what I'm trying to do now is that this is one of my favorite quotes, like this appears to PPC. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again but expecting different results. I don't know if you read a lot of stuff about PPC online, they kind of all follow the same kind of guidelines from the gurus and stuff. My point is that you have to try things for yourself and develop your own data and your own information. And hopefully some of this information I can pass on today. The good news is we don't have to be anywhere near as smart as him or him, but we've got to realise that PPC isn't the magic bullet. So with PPC is that you can't, well, it's like any form of marketing. If your product isn't great, then no amount of visibility derived from PPC is going to help in any way. It's a bit like when I was in the music industry and you'd get paid to remix records. And there was a term you said, you can't polish a turd. And it's very true. It's the same with the products as well. Yeah? So it's not going to save you in any way. And also at the beginning of the phase of this, you would have to build in a lot of time for your optimization, and you've got to learn the art of patience and persistence because you're not always going to get the results that you want straight off the bat. So key goal here is we don't want to push the boulder up the hill, okay? And so pushing the boulder up the hill, you could go into the shiny object market. And as we know, in the shiny object market, you've got a lot of competition. Generally, they're lower price. And the thing is about that decision making. So you could be really good at PPC, but you could spend all your time working on that product because the decision you made was to go into the competitive market. Or you could choose a different product that's less competitive, So you don't need so much dexterity with your PPC. Does that start to make sense, yeah? So it's about making decisions early doors. So how you think is important. If you speak to a lot of conversion optimizers, you'll find that one of the key thing with customers, they always want to have more sales, like we always do. But generally what they do, the first lever that they lean to is to go and up the ad spend. When in theory, they should be looking at fixing conversions. So that's where I'm coming from in terms of thinking about things in different ways. So let's give you an example. Let's just say you've got a 5% conversion rate on Amazon. You could probably move the needle to 10% without touching your budget if you start going through the processes of elimination and optimization. Yeah? So again, it's starting to think about it in a different way. Now, this is probably the number one question that is asked by Amazon sellers. How do I reduce my ACoS? Now, I think that nearly everyone in the room will have a different answer to this, and there's probably multiples to that answer. But I like to think about it in a different way of, well, you build it into your product. I notice a lot of this stuff is common sense, but it's often missed at the very beginning of the process. So if we take a look at here, our customer acquisition costs, so our PPC spend to acquire that customer in the first column. The second column is the sale price on Amazon, and then finally is your advertising cost of sales. So if you're going to ask the question, how do I reduce my ACoS? Well, you could flip that around and say, how do I sell more expensive products? Because if you look, straight away you're hitting a handicap at 20% when you sell at $10, but it looks far nicer at $30. Okay, so again, we're avoiding the ACoS hill by going into a process of elimination, doing it that way early doors. But of course, PPC isn't linear. So we know that the competition drives cost per click. And so to give you an example, you probably read a lot of stuff online where people are bidding $5 and $10. Although they're not paying it, they are driving the market. Then someone comes in behind them, does the same thing. It's the same thing when you're doing AdWords. You know, people will enter into the marketplace and they'll drive up to the costs. But as you develop more skills in marketing, you learn there's different ways to operate, to control this. So with a lower priced products, the ACoS tends to be high anyway. But the key thing here is that we look to develop a strategy that can start to fit your budget. So to give you an example here, so everyone has their main keywords, their high converting ones. So you've got prices here like $3.99, $2.66, $2.44. Again, this isn't real data. This is just a table to give you an idea of a breakdown here. So these kind of keywords will start to mount up over a period of time. So what you want to be able to do is diversify this and start to put together lists that work into the long tail, so it can start to make up that cost effectiveness of using the head keywords. So, it's coming out there. So basically what this is saying under here is that you can start to bring down your budget by creating a blend of utilising long tail keywords. But again, it's not linear, and so what we're looking at here to move in through these processes is to reduce our conversions, find long tail keywords that convert, and look to make up the lost search volume where we're taking out some of the more competitive ones and bringing in the long tail ones. And the way that we can do this is we can use Amazon's auto campaign data, right? So I'm a big believer, maybe some of you use the same as you're selling FBA on Amazon, into the 80-20 rule, you want to do less and more with more. So the way we do this is we can start to validate our ASINs using the auto campaigns. We'll look to remove the desire to tweak, and obviously having the patience of a saint. So getting into it now, obviously these two here, they're not interested in waiting around, because waiting's boring. Let's be honest, you've got our products, you've got them ready to go into the market, all you want to start seeing is sales. So you're very quick to hit the trigger. So this is what comes from having slight amount of patience. This is an auto campaign. It's a UK campaign. There's 752,000 impressions, 4,862 clicks, and we spent £800 to return of sales of £16,500 on an ACoS of 4.8%. Okay, this is at zero optimization at all, and still today runs in as an auto campaign. And so you can see here, there's no negative keywords for this campaign. either. So maybe we got lucky. Now we're taking one here from France. You can see here, it's not as shiny as the other one. It's on a 10% ACOS, 3.5 grand or so of sales. But it's low bid, ACOS 10%, and we use 32 negative keywords for this. So there are means and ways to work with strategies, like what Anthony was saying earlier. He presented a few strategies there that you can try. This is something you guys can try. So getting into it now, I'm going to offer up 3 different alternatives to work from. So you've got stacking auto campaigns, rotating the auto campaigns, and using a high and low method. So to do this, I'll release all the slides after, so if you don't need to take pictures, I can put them up on the website and you feel free to download them. I'll probably re-record a video as well to re-narrate it so you can have access to it. So what we need to do in order to create our experiment, we use a copy of Excel, lots of patience, a notepad to document all the changes so that we can roll back. This is really, really important, and also a text file for keeping our negative keywords, which we can use as a wash list. So again, I like to make sure that when you're focused around something, you've got something to aim for on your goals. So the goals here is to raise conversions, reduce budgets, and also find new long-tail keywords using this method. So eventually your campaigns will look something along the lines of this, and these are rolled out on a weekly basis. However, depending on the market you're in, you might need to play. So imagine this is just a framework for you guys to work off, because if it's high velocity, you might need to put up your daily budgets, adjust the bids, and you're looking to find that sweet spot that works for you. So how we'd set it up is we'd set the auto campaign out, set the daily budget and the bid. And then what's really important here is to give it time to run and generate and actually start to build some data. I mean, Amazon does work on a bit of a time lag, and so you might pull it out after 3 days to take a look, and then you're going to have a different set of data towards the end of the week. So ideally, the better the data is, the better results you're going to get. And obviously your products are not like puppies for Christmas, they're there for the long term. We're trying to create this whole evergreen process, aren't we? And so sometimes you have to do all the uploaded, like the front-loaded work, and have patience around that. So after that, you download the search term report, open up in Excel or your program. And here's something that I tend to do, which I haven't seen that many people do. Now, your data is obviously the most important factor, but imagine if you've got a product that's an organic product, sells 20 bucks or so, and you look at the page and you think, right, my keyword's great, I look on the page, there's 24 search results or whatever, but the only one on there, organic, is yours, and the rest of them are a chemical-based product and they're selling 5 to 10 bucks. But you're not getting any conversions. So stuff like that, I like to cut and paste my keywords from the report into Amazon to take a look, because there's keywords with intent, as we know, and they should, in theory, work, but sometimes they don't. So that's another way you can start to filter in and around your data. But again, you can get some really strange keywords that will start to convert in your campaigns, but that's going to be determined by how long that you would lead them. And obviously, we'd put all of our negative keywords into a file for our wash list and then add them as negative exact match. So to reiterate here, we need to document all of this, put the date, the changes made, your observations, and obviously record your ACOS, clicks, impressions, etc. And what you're doing is that you're looking through the weeding process that your budgets start to go down over time as you've optimized better. So the second part of this, and Anthony kindly touched on this, is that you can use your auto campaign to tune your listing. You've probably read lots of Facebook groups where some said, right, I've run an auto campaign for 4 hours and I got 4 clicks and they were all rubbish, so I've dumped it and now I've got 10,000 keywords that I'm going to stuff into a manual campaign and hopefully it will just work. But with these, you can use your listing so Amazon can understand it. So Amazon's going to look at, say, taking from your title and your back-end keywords and present you information. Over the years, they've developed their algorithm. Anthony knows far more about this. Again, it's speculative. So what will happen is that information that's coming back to you, generally, if it's not the right information, you've not fed Amazon the correct information. So the idea is that we would revise what we have. So even though we've done our negative keywords and stuff, we might play around slightly with the title, and we might revise our back-end keywords. But I would stress is just take it light, because I've seen people do wholesale changes with titles, and it starts to tank in terms of their rankings and stuff. So one of the best ways to do that is just do some small tests on a weekly basis, and then review your conversions and your sessions to see if there's anything abnormal going on there, right? So again, this is about making sure it's all relevant for Amazon. So you get to week 2, you're going to repeat the similar process on this. So you would set your campaign at a higher bid, maybe the same daily budget, you know, depend on your choice of framework. And then what we would do, we'd review the negative keywords from the first campaign, because obviously your keywords are going to be in set bandwidths at different prices, and sometimes they'll cross over. So that you would review your exact negative match, and then you plot those in if necessary. And then you'd run a report for 7 days, optimize for relevancy, as we just discussed. But a couple of observations I want to run into is that I've noticed in some cases that when you introduce in the higher price campaign, the algorithm seems to swing over and pay more attention to that one, and there's a slight drop off between 15 to 20%, but often I've seen that recover as well, okay? So the other thing to look into, if you've got a bit heavy-handed with your negative keywords, review those lists as well, just to make sure that there's no blockage there. So to recap this, if we would stack in 4 campaigns here, we're doing them on the weekly basis, we're doing our optimization at the end of those 7 days, we're checking our title back-end keywords for relevancy over a period of time, that starts to build into more information that Amazon can take on board and present you back the information that you truly want for your customers. Okay, so again, we're going to play with the budgets and find the sweet spot. We check for the blockage, and we review for drop-off rates. Now, alternative to that is a slightly different one, which is to rotate the campaigns. So you're following all the same processes there. The only difference is that on a daily basis, you do not turn off your campaigns. Can't stress it any further. So you'd run campaign 1 on the first day, campaign 2 on the second day. So when you're not running one of the campaigns, you then bring the price down to 2 cents or 2 pence, depending on what currency you're in, yeah? So it's still running in the background, but it's not going to interfere with what's going on with the other campaign. So that's the second option, very straightforward. This is the high and low method one. So if you're in a bit more of a rush, you can look at doing it $3 to $5. So what you're doing here is you set a higher daily budget rate, and basically what you're looking to kick off with is to find your most expensive high converting keywords, and then you flip that over, you bring that one back down to the lowest point, and then you start running this one, or you can actually run these simultaneously in some cases, but well, definitely worth testing on that, and then switch between your bid price, or you can then get to another phase where you can find a middle, so you've got the high and low method, but you can have the low, the mid, and the high method as well. Okay, so obviously again, download your reports, and then you're going to repeat the validation process of the first 2 methods that we discussed. And this is a guy called Brian Johnson. Some of you might know this. It's one of the methods which I'll give details to later from the troubleshooting forum. So here's to recap here on the slides is that what we're looking at is we've got to think about, I know we don't have a crystal ball, but we're thinking about how do we bake PPC for our visibility part of the product at the very beginning stage. And what I mean by that is if you're going after products that has got a BSR, the average is 500, then it's going to be quite competitive, as you can imagine. But if you're going for 3,000, 5,000, and obviously this is category dependent as well, because scientific's going to be different to pets and stuff in terms of the BSR. But it gives you an opportunity there to think about, do you want to enter into that market, and do you want to play that game? If you've got deep pockets and you're very good at PPC, go for it. If not so, you can make a different choice, and you could make your life a little bit easier while you're still developing those skills. Again, don't push the boulder up the hill. If you're going to start with a low-cost product and go into a competitive market, you're going to have high ACoS. It's just 9 times out of 10, that's generally what's going to happen. Running auto campaigns reduces your opportunity to tweak all time because of the limited use of an auto campaign. And it's a great way to tune your listings. And this is not going to do any harm for your organic rankings either, is it? So if Amazon's spitting back really good information from your PPC campaign and you're converting, it's only going to help what you're doing organically because Amazon's going to be looking at it in a similar light, yeah? And obviously, you're building out the diversity of your keyword portfolio so you can start to bring down your costs. And so here's some of the resources there. So I'll put the slides up on my site, so it's dannymcmillan.com. There's a keyword tool that I've got, which is just a spreadsheet. But basically what you can do is you can get your search term report, you cut and paste it in there, and it's got some parameters that gives you scoring. So you don't have to think too much about should I put a higher bid on that keyword? Should I add that as a negative keyword? Because at the end of the day, there are parameters there that you can control on the sheet as well, and you can set and adjust your own threshold for impressions and clicks and conversions, etc., etc. There's 2 brilliant Facebook groups as well. There's Profit Pros. They've just launched a podcast. Now, both of them are called Brian, but the AMS Profit Pros, they've also got a keyword tool, which is really handy, which is a spreadsheet. And basically what that does is you can do your research on Keyword Inspector, your research on merchant words and the Google AdWords keyword tool. And you throw that information into that spreadsheet and it weeds out all the junk and it puts them into columns for you. So you haven't got to be there like a ninja chopping data all day. It's done for you. But obviously check out the community. The other Brian as well, they've got, I don't use it myself, but they've got PPC Scope, some software, but a brilliant community there, and they've got a file section that has additional strategies like the one I gave on the last. And as Peter mentioned, we've got a meetup in London. Basically it's set up by a guy called Anthony, who's now based in LA. We do a monthly presentations. We beam him in from Skype by the pool. And so what we do is we do our reporting from the edge, as we like to call it, the car crash aspect, like the dummy, if you like. So we give you the full SP. You know, if we've had a bad launch, we'll tell you about the bad launch. It won't just be all the good stuff. So that's been going from strength to strength. So if you're ever in London, come by. We've got sponsors. They pay for the food, the drink, the venue. We don't, as I said, we don't sell anything. This is our way of giving back and our accountability as well, because if we know we've got to prep for our presentations on a monthly basis, it makes us think hard about our business. And when we don't want to get up at like silly o'clock in the morning to be on with China because of the time difference in the UK, we remember that the slides, whatever we put up, has to be the truth. So we better get our backsides out of that bed and get working. So there's also one that Anthony set up in LA. It's just started to get going. So yeah, there's all the resources. Thank you for listening. I hope I didn't bore you too much. And if you've got any questions, I like to put it to the floor.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great presentation. Some of the strategies are very good. Question on one thing I noticed is you have your ad groups.
Yes.
So it's auto campaign, and then you have all your products within one ad group. Or I didn't see multiple ad groups, and one of the things I was just from my Google, PPC is the more you break it out, the better. And it seems like you just kind of lump it all together. So is that because it doesn't matter with Amazon, or is there a reason you're lumping it all together, or?
Can I be honest with you? No. What we wanted to do is that the whole process of that is to do the 80-20, so we just threw it all in there. There was no real solid theory behind it. You could separate them out, but we just done it because I suppose what I didn't mention at the beginning, I'm trying to look at is you've got to manage all these campaigns. Is there a way of just chucking everything in auto and do the least amount of possible for the maximum return? So that's how that kind of came together. There's no real rhyme and reason, if that makes sense. Anyone else? No? We good? I'm around all day anyway, so if you want to have a chat, or you can obviously contact me through the website. Oh, there's one down here.
Thanks, Danny. That was really good. My question is that in some of my campaigns, I have some keywords that just have never been able to even generate an impression.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few of those, particularly when I've got campaigns with lots and lots of keywords.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, it just seems really odd that they don't show or don't get any impressions. And
Okay, so there's a few things.
Yeah.
Because it's like kind of broad on that question, and it's hard without seeing your campaign. You may be having conflict from other campaigns, some form of duplication, pricing near the same, there's near the same bid price. It could be relevancy. So sometimes your ads are not going to show due to relevancy. So you could check your browse notes. There's another opportunity. There's one, what else is there? So, and if they're long tail keywords, sometimes even though you assume you've got impressions, there's no real data out there, is there? There's no data scientist slinging it out the back door and say, hey, merchant words, here's all the data. And with that in mind, you might think that's going to give you some impressions, but Amazon users may not actually be searching for it. It really depends. You want to?
Sorry, yeah, good. That's actually great. I've got those notes, thank you. And then the other thing too is, of course, I was a bit sneaky and I plonked some, in the back end in the keyword fields, some of my competitors' brand names.
Yes.
And I sure as can't get an ad to show up against their brand. Is that?
Yeah,
Again,
I mean,
I've got some 0 impressions and clicks, obviously.
Anthony might be a help on this, but it depends on the brand. See, organically, I've got brands in the back end, but they're not Nike. I steer clear of that. It's more like private label style brands that are not established, because I do dull, boring, steady Eddie kind of stuff, well, me and my business partner do. And so we haven't got like big brands, but we do put in the keywords of others. And so we rank for those organically because they're in like non-high velocity markets. But I think it was January, but Amazon has basically taken away the opportunity to run like bid on branded keywords. And so what you could try and do is actually build out a phrase match. So you might say blue Nike shoes and try and test those. Now, I've seen it work for some people and for others, not so much. But I wouldn't use Nike. I'm just trying to give you an idea of a phrase. But if you use one of those kind of concatenation kind of keyword tools that merge words together, so make a long list of variations and then see if you can run a separate campaign, set that up and start with, say, some high bids and see if you get any traffic come back off those. Anyone else? No?
We've got a couple extra minutes, so if you have questions for either Anthony or Danny, we can take them.
I've got a question for actually for Anthony. Where is he? I can't see him. Ah, there he is. Okay, do you want to join me?
Anthony.
Can I just stand right here?
Oh, you're going to stand right there.
Okay.
I was going to ask you to pull that slide up and see if you can talk me through that algorithm that you've designed. Would that be possible?
We had this conversation that technical stuff isn't, I'm not into math.
You're not into math? No. Is there anyone else? No? Ah, here we go. This one here.
Actually, it's for you. So thanks.
You take them.
Ah, it's for you. Go on, you take it.
All right.
Hello? Yeah, it's on? Okay. So, Anthony, just had a question regarding Zonblast. When would you say is the optimal time during the product launch to engage your services? Would you recommend immediately? Or?
Immediately.
Yep. Okay.
Because
prior
as
to
I
launch?
said, newer products are easier to rank.
Yeah, so
Like stupid easy. Like the same promotion 6 months from now is going to cost you so many more units than it's going to cost you day one.
Right.
So definitely.
Thank you. Actually, one more. Oh, okay. I guess there are several competing services that are similar to yours.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is your differentiating factor?
Without going into a tremendous amount of detail in a sales pitch, we have a URL option we call Heat Seeker, which has essentially put us a cut above everybody. I mean, we had other things in the past. user interface, and little things that just make a service better. But in terms of capability, our heat-seek URL is what's getting us all those page one results really fast. It means less units in the promotion, less amounts of promotion for bigger results, and nobody else offers that right now. I imagine at some point they'll attempt it, but right now they don't.
Perfect, thank you.
It's just one of our URL options. It's where you can pick super URL, canonical URL. Heat seeker is where we pretty much guide the user through an organic search, find, buy, and Amazon weights organic search, find, purchase like 10 times more than any keyword embedded URL. So.
Just a quick question. I mean, when I hear both of you and all the experts here, it's more technology than what I did in doctoral school. Are the days of one man, one shop, one product, are the days over in Amazon? Or
I wouldn't
As
trust.
the-
He's
I
got
wouldn't
the
trust
data.
that guy.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's too many moving parts.
okay.
So if you got a guy that says that they
No,
can
no.
offer you,
If I'm the guy going to start a one product, one man home
okay,
shop,
okay, no, you can,
are the
look.
days gone?
You can do all of this on your own, but the tools help you to be more efficient. So like,
They amplify, don't they?
maybe you're not a data guy and you don't want to run all of these reports all the time and analyze it. So you get one of these inventory management programs to do it for you, and then they put a big green number here and a big red number here, and you know what's working and what's not. I mean, the one-man shop are why all these services exist, so that you don't have to do it by yourself anymore. That's my thought anyway.
Hi.
Hi.
A great presentation, thanks.
Thank you.
I'm new to this, to Amazon. I haven't listed my first product yet, but I've heard that PPC could be a little bit too expensive to start. I've heard that from someone once. Now that you guys are on the scenario, I can ask both. What do you think about PPC versus promotions? Which one you should do both, or you go?
With that, I'm going to get some commission. EA should use their service. No, I'm joking. Basically, it's important to have your visibility. What Anthony does is completely different, really, in terms of visibility to what PPC is, but they work greatly together if you can get them to marry. So I don't think you should ever limit your stuff, but it goes back to the question. PPC can be as expensive as you want your product choice to be in some cases, right? So if you go after the shiny object and you go and get yourself a garlic press or a spiralizer or some spatulas, then you're going to start looking at some really shitty ACOS, and it could get expensive. However, you go and do something in scientific or an area that is guaranteed to run on PPC, and it's less competitive, and you do 7 or 8 sales a day because you're doing something that's you've got a diversified portfolio where you've got 60 products doing a handful. Your PPC can end up being peanuts. One of my products, the PPC bill last month was $39. It just couldn't spend anything, but we've got great visibility organically. Just gives you an example. If I chose an expensive product and I was in pets and I was selling, I don't know, dog clippers or something like that, I've got a war on my hands. So it's really down to, you can pretty much pay as much as you want in most cases, and it's down to your positioning as well. Does that help? And your take on it?
To add on to that, if you're starting out on a shoestring budget and you're trying to figure out what you should do first, if you can't afford to do promotions, don't do them. PPC you can't afford because you completely control how much budget you spend every day. There's actually a setting in PPC that will max the amount of money you spend regardless of how many campaigns you have running. Once it hits that max, it stops. So you can control that. Promotions, a little bit more expensive and difficult to have a complete hand on because you're spending money and you have inventory. So if you can't afford a promotion, don't do it. But definitely do PPC.
And in terms of reviews,
Review Kick is free. I think I said that earlier.
No. I mean in terms of
Product reviews.
results of reviews, the promotions versus the PPC.
I think it doesn't matter as long as you have a good follow-up sequence in place. Every sale is going to get an email that asks for a review at some point. Every sale, whether that's a promotional sale or that's a PPC sale or that's an organic sale. So put your follow-up sequence in place and then the reviews will come. She's in control, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, it's me again. I think this one's actually for Anthony. So you're saying do it from day one. Would it be fair to say that it would be probably better to get some reviews and get some of that social proof on your listing before you do a Zomblast? Just to, you kind of talked about reviews and how important they are for conversions and stuff.
Not for promotion.
Is there a risk, though, that you could blast your way into, number 3 on a super competitive keyword and you're sitting there with no reviews and sort of slip away, slip back down? Because
If you have a follow-up sequence,
Yeah.
If you have a follow-up sequence in place and you do promotion, you're probably going to get reviews within a couple days. If you use a promotional service that works really well, you're going to stick there for longer than a couple days, you'll be okay. As long as you're also optimized fully, you're going to stick there. It takes 3-4 days to get reviews. You'll be there for a month. It'll catch up. So for promotions, you can start immediately. I know a lot of people say maybe I shouldn't start PPC until I have a little bit of social proof. I know just as many people who have started PPC campaigns with 0 reviews that suddenly just were, their ACoS was less than 15% and they were making sales. So,
Can I interject? You're saying about the review. One of the big misconceptions is that you need to get 10 or 12 reviews and then you turn on PPC. That's not true by any stretch. It's about testing your data. I would always argue, well, run an auto campaign to tune your listing, even if it's at a low bid. Find out what Amazon's looking at in terms of keywords and do it at $5 a day even. But don't wait until you get your data, because you want to get your data as quick as possible to make your sales. Does that make sense? I think the social proof thing comes down to conversions. So big difference is having some reviews will help, that social proof will help with conversions. But I don't believe you shouldn't turn your PPC on from day one. I think you should test that for your product, your vertical, your market. Yeah?
Yeah, hi, Anthony. Yeah, you talked a bit about the follow-up process, okay, and from your presentation, it seemed that you have got it pretty well done for yourself as well as your customers. So what I wanted to ask was, are there some do's and don'ts that you should follow? Because with every product there's an email that goes. Is there a way we can capture customer data through that email, or Amazon frowns on that? What are the few do's and don'ts that we can do to actually get more data somehow?
Okay, you don't use your follow-up sequence to gather data. That's not allowed. You can't. Amazon will scrub anything you put in there that does that. Product inserts and things like that, things in your packaging that become part of your product are good for that. Conversions are low, but you gotta start somewhere. For the follow-up, it really is just opening up a line of communication through Amazon for your customer. It really does exist just for customer and customer service. Like I said, you won't glean data from that. If you want, look, here's a trick I just recently learned. It's so new to me, I haven't even tried it yet. If you want data, download all of your sales, scrub all of the phone numbers out of it, put it in a Facebook campaign, and look at your demographics. That's a great way to get data. You don't know who's buying your stuff, Facebook will tell you.
Hi guys, great presentations.
Is it, Pete, do you need this back? Is that you're looking up here like, we're done.
Okay, this is more for Anthony. If you've seen any differences in promotions regarding price. So if the price is in the promotion $1, $2 for free, have you seen any difference in ranking?
Absolutely. You have to, it depends on the list. If you're talking about extreme discount deal customers, then you're looking at like 85, 90% discount, or else you won't have as much control over the promotion. What I mean by control is obviously you made a bunch of coupons and you want to get rid of all of them. You might not get rid of all of them in the event that you're selling a $10 product at a $5 discount to a list that's used to 90% discounts. There are other platforms with customers that are more open to higher costs, but I will say the more value you can create, the faster you'll get those results. You'll blow through coupons faster if it's obviously more value. Like if you have a $200 product, you could probably sell it anywhere for $5, and you'll be out of stock if you allow that to happen. So just keep that in mind. Try to create the greatest amount of value, and also pad, obviously, the hit that you're going to take. I usually try to push the envelope with about an 80% discount when I do promotions.
So is there a difference between a free giveaway and a $1 giveaway or a $2 giveaway?
Can I just go ahead and advise you not to do free? Just don't. The reason why is because the guys that do black hat stuff, they like illegal against terms stuff. They use free coupons. So when you do promotions with free coupons, there's like a level there where Amazon might not be sure whether or not you did that legit or not, and you don't want to put that in their head. So avoid it altogether. Make sure there's a cash transaction for every sale. Because you're the one that decided that your widget's worth $29. Technically, a promotion for your widget at $1.95 could very well just be the sale of a $1.95 product. People are spending money on this product. Amazon likes that. They make money, the guys get a good deal, and then you ideally raise rank. So everybody wins.
Perfect, thank you.
Oh, great. Okay, great. Thanks. Round of applause for Danny and Anthony.